There's no cross stitch you know, the, what do you call it? The cross stitch hatch. Welcome to the show. I am the Star Wars Daddy, and I'm bringing you a reproduction tutorial video. It's overdue. This needs to come out now. I see too many Facebook posts on my Star Wars groups of people posting pictures and saying, I need help. Is this real or not? And we all should know by now that a single picture, is not going to determine a reproduction. These reproductions are everywhere. Almost, I would say probably 50% of the collections I purchase, I find reproductions in them, where it was sworn to me when I purchased, oh, this is from my childhood. I just pulled it out. 40 years it's been sitting in the attic. I just pulled it out and I sold it to you. I've never touched it. I've never purchased anything after 1985. All these different things that we hear, but then we find reproductions. So what we're going to do in this video is we're going to look at some of these Facebook posts. Okay, I'm going to break them down. I'm going to tell you why they bother me and what's wrong with them, why nobody can really determine for a fact if it's real or reproduction just by a photo, unless, I will say as a caveat, unless the picture shows it's absolutely a reproduction by something that is known fact to be fake. But if there's nothing in the picture that would indicate it's exactly a reproduction, we're not going to know from a photo. It's too close. You got to be able to do some physical tests. We've got a drop test. We've got a float test. We've got an LED light test. We have got a visual test that we're going to be doing, and we're going to take a look at the websites. All right, there's some resources that we have that will show you so much detail. You could spend hours and hours on these websites with all the items that you have in your collection, and you could look through them all and you could pinpoint exactly what mold every single item you have is, what factory produced it, if it's real, if it's fake, all the different tests that we're going to go over here in this video. They're on these websites as well, telling you how to do them. But I'm going to give you sound. You're going to be able to hear some of the physical characteristics. You're going to see the physical characteristics, and they're going to actually do some physical stuff to prove that they're reproductions or they're real. So after we go through the Facebook posts that really sparked this conversation, we're going to talk about reproductions and why they're even here. How do we know there's reproductions? When did it start? Do a little bit of history on it, and then we're going to go into every single test. And why do I have Looney Tunes as the theme of this video? Well, I'll tell you why. Because when I see these posts happen, and then I look at all the comments, and the comments are on both sides. Some people will say they're fake. Some people will say they're real. Some people will say, well, you can't even have, people never even reproduce these. These aren't, why would anybody reproduce a cheap item like this? There's all kinds of stuff that happen in the comments, and it's chaos. It's absolute chaos. It reminds me of Looney Tune cartoons. And Wile E. Coyote, always failing, always making mistakes. And that's what it kind of feels like in some of these Facebook groups with these comments about these reproductions. And so we're going to talk about that. We're going to go over it. And that's why the theme of this video is absolutely Looney Tunes, because that's how it makes me feel. But listen, this is not a video to attack anybody. It's not make you feel bad. There are new collectors out there. There are people that have even been long collectors that just don't know much about reproductions. They've kind of had their childhood collection. They've never really, bought too many things. And so if you're not dealing with these accessories and these weapons on a daily basis and seeing reproductions so that you learn how to find them and see them and pull them out, I can completely understand where people can be lost. The only issue I have is when people just post a picture on the Facebook group and say, hey, tell me if this is real or not. It's just, you're never going to get a 100% guaranteed answer. So that's why we're going to go through all these tests so that you at home, you don't have to make those posts. you're going to be an expert after watching this video. And then if you're not an expert, you're going to be close to an expert, but I'm going to give you the resources that you can use on your own to study and to become an expert on reproduction. So in case you buy something from Goodwill, a garage sale, eBay, your best friend who says he's never, ever taken these out of the attic, and he's selling you items, even though he went to a bunch of conventions back in the 90s, and he did come home with a whole bunch of bags filled with Star Wars stuff. But he tells you that they're all real, he's never touched them since 1985. This is how you will be able to determine if you've got reproductions or you have real items, and you've hit the jackpot. Another plug I'll give to some inexperienced people with reproductions. I was once that same person. I can guarantee you that I have sold 2 pop-up lightsabers from the last 17 R2-D2. I've sold them as reproductions in reproduction lots that I sold off. I was like, hey, you got all this junk, I'm going to throw it away or someone can purchase it. Because I had a little bit of information about how to determine what a reproduction was or not, and thought that that was the end all. And it blanketed every single accessory or weapon, and it doesn't. That's why there's lots of tests. You have to be able to use all the tests, take all of the evidence to then build your case. And unfortunately, I did the drop test. And the pop-up R2-D2 saber, it sounds fake, even though it's real. It's one of the few items that is not like all the others. And so I dropped it and I was like, oh, that's the wrong sound. And then I put it in water and it sank. And I thought that, you know, it had to float because all accessories float, which we'll find out that's not the case. That's why you need to watch this video. And so it failed 2 tests. And unfortunately, I was wrong because there are 2 versions of the R2-D2 pop-up lightsaber. One of them floats and one of them sinks. They both sound fake when dropped, but they're legit. And I sold them for probably $3. So listen, I've made mistakes. We all make mistakes. So this is not a video to bash anybody, to make you feel bad. It is really to educate and to allow you to have the freedom. Break free from having other people having to do things for you to answer all these questions for you. Be an expert, and I'm going to hopefully educate you as best I can. And if not, I'm going to give you the resources so that you can then further that education, and then you can be an informed collector. Guys, one thing I want to do real quick. We got a quick housekeeping. We'll get right into the video. Right here, CAS. I did a tutorial, another tutorial, 2 weeks of tutorials. CAS right here, 10% off, Daddy 10. It's happening until August 31st. If you're, again, a beginner with grading items, but you want to do it or you want to just get some information, this is the video for you. We go through every little detail. I go through 40 items I'm sending off personally to be graded. And I'm going through them all, showing you how to do it, showing you how to use their systems, and trying to dissolve any kind of worry that you could possibly have. And it happens in this video, so make sure to check this out. And make sure, if you're going to send anything off to be graded, Daddy 10, that's what you're going to use at checkout until August 31st. And if you could, please hit like, subscribe if you haven't already, hit the bell notification to be notified of all the upcoming content. I'll tell you about the outro of this video after we're done through this tutorial. I'm going to have some more housekeeping stuff. I want to tell you about what's happening in the future. It's crucial information that you're going to want to know. And there's going to be a couple commercials that play. There's going to be a CAS commercial that plays that talks about the 10% off. There's also going to be a membership video. If you love the Star Wars, if you love supporting small channels like this, if you love what I've done here and you want to support me, the best way you can support me is through memberships. There'll be a commercial that talks about all the free stuff I'm giving you. It is the best way that you can support me, and in turn, it is the best way that I can personally thank you. Personally, because I'm going to send you free stuff, and the commercial will talk about that. So make sure to watch that. Don't fast forward. Watch it. It's a Star Wars commercial. You're going to love it. And I think that's about it, guys. Let's get into these reproductions. Let's see if I can somehow give you as much information as I can in the smallest amount of time and just kind of scratch the surface enough to where you are going to feel better about reproductions. You're going to feel informed, and at least you're going to know where resources are so that you can solve these problems when you have them. That's the point of this video, so hopefully we get that across. All right, guys, let's get into all of these reproductions.
Audio Jungle.
Okay, why are we even making a video like this about reproductions? Let's go into the history of reproductions, why there are reproductions, and just some background information. We're here at imperialgunnery.com. This is a number one source. Number one, number two. Okay, there's two sources really. So this is number one. I've used this forever. It's been around the longest. And it goes through every single accessory you could possibly imagine. It shows fakes. It shows what the real ones are supposed to look like. It shows their physical characteristics in the most part on how to determine if it's real or fake. But here is a brief history of reproductions in the hobby. The vintage Star Wars action figure line ran for a total of 8 years and was a worldwide phenomenon throughout production. Many different companies across the globe were contracted to produce the figures and accessories. Kenner in the US, Lily Letty in Mexico, Glassleet in Brazil, to name just a few. This resulted in a large amount of figure variations being produced. Likewise, the weapon and accessories that accompanied the figures also included variations. In today's collecting market, many of the hard-to-find figure variations, such as Glassleet and Lily Letty, tend to be more sought after in comparison to their standard Kenner counterparts. As the collecting market started to expand in the 1990s, a problem entered the hobby. Repros, reproduction, fake weapons and accessories. Many of these reproductions were mass-produced in Asia. With the advent of eBay, the circulation of them became widespread. Aside from the mass-produced reproductions, other types of fakes hit the market, ranging from small-scale operations to homemade efforts. The production of repros has accelerated over recent years and includes parts for vehicles, playsets, creatures, boxes, and inserts, even stormtrooper action figures. The plastic materials used and casting quality has also become more advanced, making reproductions more difficult to detect than before. So that is a little bit of background. That's what's happened. There's many people that were, purchasing items in the 90s, had no idea that reproductions were even there because it was something that was brand new and being thrown into the market. So they added those to their collections, and they threw them up in the attic, and then they go to sell these things, and they have no idea there were even reproductions that could have been purchased. So they state, hey, these are all from my childhood, right? So we got warning signs, we've got things we've got to look out for, and it's all because of these reproductions, and we're going to go through all of these different tests. But first things first, I want to go over some Facebook posts. I see these things all day long, every single day, and this is what kind of sparked me to make a video like this so we can learn together, be informed collectors, and we don't have to make posts like this and get confused because there's a lot of things going on. This first one is they're all going to be from the Imperial Commissary, it's ICC, and this one says, I've done the tests and looked at the comparisons online, but I can't tell if this is real. Seeking opinions from the group. All right, so the good news is he did some tests. He looked at comparisons online. So he did everything he was supposed to do, and he still couldn't come up with a solution, and so he's reached out to everybody else. The problem is that all we have are pictures. The tests are all physical in nature, so you have to have it in your hand. You have to be able to see it. There could be different lighting that's happening. The photo quality could be poor. And so what you're looking at, it might look real, but you have no idea if it's real without running physical tests. So these types of posts, while you might get an answer saying, hey, it looks real, there's no way of having a definitive answer if it's real or not, because the person that is going to be answering it doesn't physically have it in their hand. They can't run the tests, right? This next one, anyone tell me, is this real or fake? I don't have my real ones next to me. Okay, so this one, the reason why this one bugs me is because he has real ones, and he could do an eyeball comparison with real ones that he thinks are real at home, right? We'll assume that they're real. How he knows they're real, I don't know, because he doesn't know if this is real. So how does he know the other ones are real? But we'll say that we assume that those are real. So he could just do an eyeball test, right? He's going to take this one. If he had the real one next to it, he'd put them next to him and he'd look at them and see if they're real. But that's why we have these websites. You don't have to have the real ones in your collection to look at them. You can just go to websites, because we'll see here in this video, the picture quality, the details that are there are astronomical on these websites. And so he could have just gone to the websites like Imperial Gunnery or Variant Villain and looked at these exact options for this exact blaster, and he would have been able to do an eyeball comparison. But instead, He just threw it out to the group to see what would stick and to see if he could get any kind of response. The other issue as well is, again, we have just a picture. We don't have it physically in our hands to do tests to make sure that it's actually legit. This one, it says, "Hi, IC crew. Anybody able to confirm if this is real or repo?" It's not repo. Nobody's taking it from you. All right. It's reproduction, not a repo. Or point me in the right direction. Example of like proper tests. I know this is frequently asked. Yes, it is. It's just hard to keep it straight. Okay, so let's look at this photo. There are some things that we would need to see in the photo that would indicate that it would lean towards being real. Okay, but we can't see those because it's so blurry of this photo. There's no way to see it. So this is the worst one yet. You can't even see the photo, and you can't physically hold it and to make a determination. All right, here we go. Here's another one I found. Can anyone please tell me if this is authentic? Now, the good news is the one that we just saw previous only had one picture of one side. This one at least has both sides. So that's a good start, right? But before we've even determined if it's real, this person who made the post is already moving past that. Is it the solid black one? So it seems like what's most important to him is it the solid black one. We just kind of quickly asked if it was real, and then, hey, this is what's really important, is something else. If he doesn't even know it's real, I mean, I don't know. I don't know why we're even worried if it's a solid black one. I can tell you it's not. It's not the solid black one. And again, the picture quality is a little bit rough. It's hard to see the grain in the hilt. There's some other little details that would be very nice to be able to see, but again, it's not physically in front of us. How would you actually know? Because I can tell you, there are some reproductions now of these Imperial blasters that look identical. Physically, you look at them, they are almost impossible to tell apart. So, and especially with this is not having enough detail, those little tiny details that don't show up in pictures like this, those could be the determining factor of whether you would feel, let's say, 90% sure it's real compared to not. But I need that 10%. I need to do the physical test to get that last little bit, right? All right, here's one. Now this one, I like that the person put 5 photos because one of the most important photos on this one is the very back. So the bottom left corner, we can see that there is the very back of the gun. That's crucial because the fakes on this one are going to be very square and blocky when there should be some curvature to this little back little piece that's there. And so it's nice that we can see that. And here's what he says. Is this real or fake? Last I asked a lot of people, said it was real, but I need to know for sure because there's doubt in my mind. Okay, so he's already asked a lot of people and has decided, I'm going to ask a lot of people again because whatever responses I got before just didn't work for me. I need to get a better response from even more people. And I'll tell you what, the reason why I bring this up is going to come up to this next one, okay? Because I don't know what the responses were from his original or who he asked, before, how he asked it, what kind of responses he got. But I can tell you in these Facebook groups, this is the problem. The problem is that there's a lot of people that will look at it and say, yeah, it looks real to me because they're not reproduction experts. They don't handle these things. They don't know. They just say, oh yeah, that looks like the right blaster. But their response means nothing. And it does not help. But these people will leave responses. They know a little bit of information. They don't know all the information. And then they're responding like they know the answer. So my guess is he got a lot of mixed responses. Or the people said, hey, we need more information. Did you try these tests? Did you do this? And so he never came to a conclusion. But I can tell you the reason why we've done this Looney Tunes type theme for this video is because the responses that come from posts like this are chaos. Absolute nightmares. It's like Wile E. Coyote. All the clips you're going to see in this video is exactly how I feel when I watch the responses, because there's so many responses that are they jump to the gun and say, yep, it's real, you say, then someone says, nope, it's a reproduction, and it goes back and forth. And so you can never really get a true response. Here is the one that I'm going to show you some of the comments to show you why there are issues with leaving a post like this on Facebook. Would you guys say this is genuine? Is the response? This is from 2017. All right. And now this is one of the most common blasters out there. I have like 50 of them. 50 of these sitting here in my collection, in my inventory, waiting to be matched up with figures to get them out of here. And, you know, from what I can tell, the color looks right. It has kind of like a matte finish to it, which is what you want to see. The shape looks perfect. I'm not seeing anything that would jump out at me that would make this reproduction. But here's the comments. This is why we have to be able to determine what we have in front of us instead of just posting a photo on Facebook to get responses from people who are basing their information off of just a photo and not how you actually need to determine if something is a reproduction. All right, so we go down to the second comment here. Yep, looks legit, somebody says. These are too cheap to repro. I would think like $4 each. It's like the cheapest gun you can find. Weird. Like doing a repro of a Timex watch, a knockoff of the Rolex, not the Walgreens sold Timex digital yo. So his response is, well, it's got to be real. Nobody would do a reproduction of this item. Like, who would do that? So it has to be real. Nobody's ever done a reproduction of this item. And then here's another response right below that with a similar type of response from somebody. Looks legit. Also, it's not worth copying cheap enough originals. So two people, the first two people that responded were saying it has to be real because it's not worth copying. Nobody would do a reproduction of a $4 or $5, accessory. And that's the problem, right? We have some people that will respond saying, "Hey, it looks good. Looks good to me. I'm not an expert, but it looks good." And then you have people that will put in, well, nobody would. Their reasoning is it's real because why would somebody reproduce this? And you have all kinds of responses that are like this, back and forth. I've seen ones. It just goes back and forth. Yep, it's real, fake, real, fake, real, fake. And all the same comments about the same thing. And again, everybody's determining this off of a photo. Now, sometimes a photo, when you post a photo of a reproduction item, there could be an indicator in that photo that says that is a reproduction. No doubt. Okay, so that stuff happens. It's just if it is actually a real item, and we have fuzzy photos, we don't have information, we haven't done physical tests, it could be that it actually is fake, but we don't know because we're determining it off of a photo that looks real, right? So there's all kinds of stuff that happens here within these Facebook groups and these kind of posts. So we're going to go into all of the tests now.
In a galaxy where legends were born, the most iconic brand collaborations shaped pop culture for generations. But for over a decade, there's been silence. Until now. Introducing the Ultimate Alliance, Star Wars Daddy, and Collector Archive services. Use code DADDY10 and get 10% off your next CAS submission. Why choose CAS for grading? Because they grade more collectibles than anyone else, with blazing fast 90-day turnaround times, the best customer service, best pricing in the industry. Preserve your legacy, protect your collection. Star Wars Daddy and CAS, the collab we've been waiting for.
So here on Imperial Gunnery, we're going to go back to this. We got a bunch of tests, right? So what they've put in here, they put in a few tests. We got the float test, the drop test, and the light test. And we're going to go through every single category as we do this. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go through these, and then we'll add in some extra tests that are not a part of this website. And then we'll also take a look at variant villain towards the end when we're going to do the kind of like a visual test, right? We're going to take a look at it compared to what's online. But this is going to give us a lot of information about these different tests. So I'm going to read off the float test, drop test, light test. And after I read off each one, I'll actually show you those tests, and we'll discuss them more as we go, all right? So what is the float test? How do I do it? The float test is a relatively simple procedure of placing a Star Wars action figure, weapon, or accessory into a bowl of water and observing if it floats or sinks. And they say all repros sink and all originals float, right? Wrong. Most repros do sink, but there's a number of repros that do not. There's also a number of originals that do sink when the majority float, like the Gamorrean Guard axes, a Monomon staff, and 2 out of the 3 pop-up lightsabers are also sinkers, just to name a few. In addition to this, some original single telescoping lightsabers can float, while some can sink. Repro manufacturing has become more sophisticated over the years. Fakes are not only imitating the looks of their genuine counterparts more faithfully, but also their behaviors, leaving vintage collectors and sites like the Imperial Gunnery with an even harder task to identify what is real and what is fake. Another important thing to consider with the float test is that although a weapon or accessory appears to be floating, this may not be completely accurate. Some elements of plastic provide a certain buoyancy, but when submerged or tapped with your finger, they will immediately sink and remain at the bottom. Therefore, it is very important to not only place the subject on the surface, but to submerge it fully in the water and observe its behavior. Okay, remember when we had this Imperial Blaster that we did with the drop test, and they sounded identical, right? Well then, how do we then determine if this is fake? Well, we got the float test here. We know this blaster should float, all right? If it sinks, it's a reproduction, because this blaster will always float. So when we put it in water, and it sinks right to the bottom. So that's how we know, even though it looks identical, it pretty much passed the drop test. So visual test, it looked pretty good. Drop test, it passed. And then here, unfortunately, the float test, it fails. And so it's thrown into the pile of reproductions. Okay, here's some expensive blasters, right? And these all kind of, just looking at them, they all kind of look right. They're the kind of the right colors. They look pretty good. Let's see what happens. These should all float. And we've got a couple floating here at the top, right? So we've got 3 of them. This one's trying to float, but he's already sank, so we know he's bad. Let's push down on these. And look at these. So 2 of them are floating. That one was floating. We pushed it down, and it stayed down. So let's take a couple more that should float, right? These should float. I mean, these should float if they're real. And we drop these in. And that one kind of pushed that one down. But look, it was trying to float, and now it sinks. This one should always float. It sinks. 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 Trying to float. Sinks. Sinks. Everything sinks. So we would not have to do any other tests on these blasters that you see in these accessories, because once they've sank and we know that 100% of them will float if they're real, we would be able to put these into a reproduction category. Okay, now the drop test. What is the drop test and how do I do it? The drop test is an acoustic test to judge the sound a weapon or accessory makes when dropped onto a flat surface. The test is based on the principle that the types of plastics used in the 1970s and the 80s produce vintage weapons are different to the plastics used today. Because of the different chemical structures between the two, it is believed there's a subtle difference present in the texture and sound quality. To make the test simply, drop a weapon onto a flat surface like a table. I would use granite, quartz, something like that if you have that. Because wood, you're not going to be able to tell the difference. And listen to the noise it makes when it lands. Try dropping it from just a short distance, around 8 inches, and listen carefully to the sound it makes when connecting with the surface. Original weapons make a different sound to repros. You may have to take time to practice, listen, and compare originals with repros. As a basic indicator, reproduction weapons have a hollow and light sound and seem to bounce a bit more than originals. The sound of an original weapon hitting a flat surface is fuller, and there seems to be less bounce. This test is not conclusive and should always be used as a guide along with other types of verification. I recommend that you do not try this test with any weapons or accessories that you believe may be fragile or prone to breaking, okay? So we're gonna actually see what this test looks like. I have tons of reproductions. We're gonna drop them, and you're gonna hear the exact difference. They make a completely different sound when they are dropped. So my countertops are quartz, so we'll take a look at what they sound like on quartz, but it's the same thing as I had granite countertops last. They made the exact same sound on granite. Okay, here we are going to do the drop test, and I wanted to show, first off, these ones right here, because we just talked about these in the Facebook group, right? We've got these Imperial rifles that somebody said nobody would ever make a reproduction. If you're looking at these right now, I'll zoom in. Can you tell which one's the reproduction just by looking at it? Is it the top? Is it the bottom? Who knows, right? So I can tell you that one of them is a reproduction. And so what I'm going to do is I'll show you a little visual here. And we can see the top one has kind of like a glossy look to it. That is a problem. We do not want glossy. We want flat, kind of a plastic. And so let's hear what a real one sounds like. So here's the real one. Okay, there's a few examples, and then here's the fake. Has a very high-pitched type of a plastic. Here's the real one. So fake, real, fake, and real. We got two Imperial blasters here. Which one is real, which one's fake? Is it the top or the bottom? Can you even tell from the pictures? Who knows? It's going to be really hard, right? But I can tell you the bottom one is the fake one. And so let's drop that and hear what it sounds like. So this one doesn't sound too bad. There's a real one. So these ones, if we're looking at them right there, one of them is fake, one of them is real, and they sound almost identical on the drop test. So you wouldn't be able to tell just from the drop test, and that's why we do additional tests. Okay, here we go. Another inexpensive blaster. It is a Bespin blaster. And the bottom one is fake, top one is real. So let's go ahead and hear the real one. Now this one still has kind of like a little bit higher pitch sound, but still compared to this one, you can hear a complete difference. And then here's just some fake ones so we can just get used to the sound. Listen to that one. It's just like a super brittle, hard plastic is what it kind of sounds like. So a bunch of fakes. This Zuckus rifle. Just, the sound is almost the same. You're going to get really used to that sound because they all sound like that. At least these, when it's a, you know, if it makes this sound and we do all the other tests and know it's a reproduction, you know, that was the tail sign right there. Hey, it's me, Carl, a rebel soldier, and I'm back on Hoth again, searching for all those amazing perks that come with the Star Wars Daddy membership program here on YouTube, which I just signed up for. At least it's safe here now that the Empire has been destroyed. Wait, what's that? Ah! Oh no, the Wampa got me? The only way for me to get out of this situation is by using the Force. The Force that comes from the Star Wars Daddy membership perks, like member-only monthly giveaways. Free action figures and Star Wars Daddy stickers on your next eBay purchase. Free eBay shipping on all action figures and accessories in the middle and top tiers of memberships. And the Star Wars Daddy t-shirt I'm wearing after certain tenure. There are even more perks, but I don't have time to list them all off with this Wampa situation. I've got to use all these membership perks. I'm feeling the Force. I'm feeling the Force. Memberships! Memberships! Okay, the light test. So what are translucent weapons and accessories? Many vintage weapons and accessories have a number of color variations, and some of these may appear translucent. The translucent effect is likely caused during the injection molding process and is a result of an insufficient amount of dye being added to the plastic and or poorly mixed pigment granules. The translucence can sometimes be visible to the naked eye, but is better seen when held to a light source. Many dark colored accessories are blue and black. Blasters and rifles will show varying degrees of translucence, often revealing blue or green shades. The Chewbacca bowcaster is a good example. Some accessories will only show a faint translucence seen on the extremities or thinner parts. What is the light test and how do I do it? To make the test, place the subject against a strong light source such as natural light or a torch and observe. Don't use a torch, okay? You don't need flame, all right? Just use a LED light. The below pictures are all original accessories and show varying degrees of translucence. It is important to note that not all original accessories are translucent, all right? And this test, like the others before it, should only be used as a starting point alongside other methods of verification. It is also important to note that some repros can be translucent. Thankfully, not many at this stage. Here's some pictures. We can see some translucent stuff. I will also do some tests so I can show you how these look and what happens with reproductions. I have not ran into any reproductions as of this moment that were translucent. They all are like a solid color and there's no light shines through them unless it's a saber. Sometimes the sabers show some translucence, but for the most part, any blasters and stuff like that, they're like a solid plastic and so no light shines through them. All right, so let's take a look at that. Okay, here's some of the light tests. This is a real item and we can see that there is some translucence just on the tips in the upper right of the barrel, that little kind of the round part of it at the top, that is slightly translucent. And then the very bottom right tip of the barrel is as well. And we got a little bit of translucency back here on that back little round part. Here's a dark blue-black one, and we can see again similar translucence at the round part of the barrel and the bottom right. Here is a Bespin blaster, and we can see it has lots of translucent parts, right? The tip here in the near the handle, the trigger area on top, lots of translucent areas. If we look at this Darth Vader saber, we can see that the light is coming through the shaft as well as on the hilt. So that's usually a good sign. And then take a look at the Chewbacca bowcaster. This thing is super translucent. It is shining right on through. So these would all be pretty good signs to go along with our other tests that we've got something that is legit. Here is a reproduction of the Bespin blaster and no light shines through. You can see that. It is a solid plastic and the light does not shine through. Here's an Imperial blaster that is a reproduction. And again, we can see that no light is shining through anywhere on this blaster. It is a solid plastic. And then just to compare that saber, we did the Darth Vader one that had the light shining through. Here's an Obi-Wan saber. Nothing shining through at all on this one. And it is a known reproduction based on the way that it is built. The mold for it is a known reproduction, but no light shining through.
Audio Jungle.
All right, so here we are on Variant Villain. This is my favorite website. I use this all the time. Because of what's happened with Imperial Gunnery and them losing their access to all their different sites that they had prior, most of their information is gone. So the basic information that we saw, that's there. But if we go back to the Imperial Gunnery real quick, you can see that up here in this upper, there's all these green words, right? So we got like Imperial Blasters. Let's click on Imperial Blasters. We click on that, and then we'll see right down here, it's going to go through like which Imperial Blasters went with which figures. Okay, so that's nice to know, right? And then we go down and it starts to give some information about some of the different variants that could possibly be there, but then it goes through and it shows you all the different versions, what they look like. These are real. So the green, we can see the V1C, that shows green, so we're good there. So we scroll down, and if we scroll down a little bit further, so we're seeing all these different versions. Look how many versions there are. And then we started getting some really weird ones. Look at this, Top Toys. So Top Toys right here, they would have created a blaster that looked like this. Doesn't even look real, right? And here's another one. Here's another variant to it, the blue one. Pretty cool. In Japan, the Takara, all right? That's a pretty cool looking one. It's obviously a little bit different. It's got that round tip to the end. So this, this site's great when you're trying to look for all these different variants, that is what I kind of use it for, to match stuff up, all right? And then when we get into the red here, this is red means repro. Okay, so repro, version 1, they're going to show some examples that they've had that they know are reproduction to show you what they look like. It's not all of them. It's just a handful of them so you can, get an idea. And it kind of tells you, like, look, this one's cast in a black plastic. It lacks detail on the handle grip. So you can see that handle grip right there. It doesn't have the grooves in it, right? And so we're looking through, there's a lot of reproductions. So that's what goes on here. And then you can go into like the Jawa blasters, and it's going to do the exact same thing. It's going to show you what all the real ones that it knows of looks like. And then it gets down to the red ones. And here's the red ones that are reproduction. Okay, so that's what it does. But variant villain I like better. Okay, so at the top menu, we click accessories, and let's go into blasters. We'll look at the exact same thing that we just looked at. We'll go to the Imperial blasters. There it is. So we click on the picture, Imperial blaster, and look at this. So it's going to go over the same kind of details, but look at the mold comparison on the left, the table of contents on the left side. You've got, it says the M1 is Unitoy, M2 is Unitoy. It goes through all the different factories that released each one of these, and then it goes into absolute detail. Look at the detail that's happening right here with these blasters. There's so much going on. You got 10 different versions. You got 10 versions. It shows you every reason why they're different and why they're that version compared to the other ones. We got dots on some of them. We got lines on some of them. We got dents. We got, what else do we have? We got EPM circles. We've got all kinds of stuff, right? We got gate scars. The little gate scars, a little flap that comes off of the blaster where like the injection mold was going in. So it leaves like this little like tail that's there. So all that stuff. And there's another Top Toys. We got Top Toys. That's Argentina, right? Argentina Top Toys. So pretty cool. Then we go down here. So this is where it's going to show you all the different mold variations that came out with this Unitoy Mold 1. All right, the Mold 1 Unitoy. And it tells you all the different colors it comes in. If you were to put it underneath the light, you would see the color coming through the plastic. And then it even shows you. So let's click on this first one. Let's click on this first one, M1A. And then it shows you what it should look like underneath an LED light. So it shows you the translucence of this exact version, which is really cool, right? So then you can match it up with the light test and see if it's similar based on visual, right? We visually match it. It's got to be this M1A. It's got to be that. And then we got the blue one. Okay, now we should match pretty close, right? And this is going to go through all these different versions. So this is where we're doing a visual test. We're looking online, and we would look here at the top with an Imperial blaster. We would look online, and we would look at the different examples until we found the one that matches the one that we're looking at in person. We look at all the features in which this one should have. We match up the features, and then we go ahead and we can go down and take a look at all the different color variations that could possibly happen, because you don't want it to match it up with the color variation that's showing here on these different versions, because there's multiple color variations of each one of these. So we just want to match it up as far as the characteristics. Then we go down to check out the colors to make sure that the color that we have is one that actually matches this version. You will see also that there's like on the very top one, the M1 Unitoy, at the far right, there's an M1A and an M1B version. Okay, so there's it's the same one. We know it's the Unitoy factory released blaster, and then there was 2 different molds that are slightly different that came out. And then, but the good news is right down here, we go down to that M1 color comparison, and we can see the M1A row and the M1B row, so we can see what those differences look like and the different color variations that came out with them. Okay, so this is this site is incredible, and I'll show you one other thing real quick. So you can do that with almost all accessories. There's some accessories that they do not have in here, and that's why we would have the Imperial gunnery as a backup to go take a look at those there. But if we go to figures, let me show you this. Let's go to Star Wars. Just real quick, this is not part of the reproduction part of it, but let's just go to Farm Boy Luke here. And then here we're going to take what it does. This is the awesome part, is it shows you every single COO on the back of the leg and what factory made it. So if you have a Farm Boy Luke, you're trying to match up the exact saber, okay, the exact saber that would have gone with the COO that you have, the version of the figure you have. Let's say it's that first one. It's the 1A. We can see that's a Cater. It could be a POC, which is an early Spanish figure, a Cater China, a Meccano or a glass lead. So let's just say it's a regular Kenner, okay? M1A. So let's go down. Oh my gosh, look at these figure guides. My goodness. What did I say it was? Cater. So we go down to the family one right here. So these are all the different variations that we should be able to see of a Cater one. We got some more down here. There's the Meccanos, the glass leads. We got the POC figure. But we've got just that regular one. Let's say it's not the double telescoping. So we need to have a Cater lightsaber. Okay, that's what we need to find. We need to know what that looks like so we can match it up perfectly with a Cater figure. We would come down to on the left side on the table of contents. We click on single telescoping sabers. Now we know we have a Cater figure, right? It's that 1A. All right, so it's a Cater figure. Now let's find the Cater lightsaber that matches up with our Cater figure. So we're going to look at M1. Okay, we look at the table of contents over there. We can see Cater, but there's also an M5. Uh-oh, Cater. There's an M5, M1, M5. And here's all the different mold variations. And so we're looking for an M1. It says Cater Unitoy Smile Taiwan. And then but what does the M5 look like? So it's pretty similar. We look at the M5 there. It's just one has a flat tip and one has a round tip. And so it probably isn't going to matter which one you would use, but you would see this is what it needs to look like, okay? So even though these are the Darth Vader sabers, the yellow sabers and the Obi-Wan Kenobi blue sabers are going to match up exactly. They were produced in the same molds. They just had different colors. So you're looking for that M1, the one that looks just like that, or you're looking for an M5 with the round tip or the flat tip. I think that's what you'd be looking for Cater, right? Cater would probably be sufficient for a Cater released figure. And then there's those yellow ones. That's what they would look like. So there's your different options. And look at all the different letters. They show all the different letters that come with these sabers. So there's all kinds of cool stuff that's happening here. We go to the M5. What does the M5 look like? It even gives you some information too, right? So the M5 was produced by a Cater Smile factory in Hong Kong. They were packed on Smile and Cater cards not before 12 Seabacks. The molds were also used by PBP in Spain for the Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker, and Ben Kenobi. These sabers sink when submerged in water. So there's some more information, right? We know these ones are going to sink. There's all kinds of information on Variant Villain. I love this website. Okay, I want to go over some more visual tests. Here is Reese's rifle. It is the shiniest gold you've ever seen. So this one right at the bat, you could look at this and be like, okay, this is the wrong color. It's too shiny. It looks painted almost. And so this should jump out at you as a red flag if you've ever seen a real Reese rifle. Similar situation kind of is this Bespin Luke Skywalker lightsaber. You can see it has this weird kind of like a seam running down the side, which it shouldn't have. It looks the wrong color. It's like an orangish yellow, like mustard yellow. And then up here, you can see that like paint has rubbed off of it. Well, these shouldn't be painted. So we could pretty much easily spot this one out and say that's not right. On this Leia blaster, take a look at this one. You can just see that the mold is kind of weird. It's not very detailed up here at the top. It's kind of like a bad version of it. It's kind of rough up here. And it's also too blue. It's like it should be a little bit darker of a blue. This is kind of like too light. And you can see there's no EPM circle on the small handle. There should be a circle there. And so this one we would be able to kind of look at and be like, something is definitely not right. And if we look on this side, it should be more of a rounded type of a end here. And this is kind of like just a crude version. It's like not even all there. It's like half there, the back side of it. And look how this like seam kind of runs down the back handle. There's all kinds of things going wrong with this one. If we take a look at this Rebel blaster here, we can see it's gray. There were no grays. There's either blue or blue-black. Is all of our options. And so this one right here, we would know, well, this color was never even made by Kenner. And so we could throw this out as a reproduction. And same goes for this right here. This is your pilot blaster, and it's blue. There's only black and gray. So right off the bat, we would know we've got a reproduction here just because it's the wrong color. Okay, for the color test, we've got some of these accessories that we're going to find out are actually painted, and they shouldn't be painted. So what will happen is if I was to use this and draw it, push pretty firm and draw on white paper, we're going to see it's leaving all kinds of paint residue behind it. Now, some of these might not be painted. So this blue one, let's take a look at this blue one. So that left nothing because it's actually made of plastic. We take this right here, Bespin deal, and look at that. Look at the yellow coming through. So the paint's coming right off of the blasters or the lightsaber. Here's blue, and it's drawing blue. Let's see what happens with this wicket. And look at that, we got brown going. We could draw all kinds of things here. I'm not sure what will happen with this Leia blaster. Oh, it is, yeah, it is drawing it in there. And then this gray one I think is just made of plastic. So this one will not draw. So again, some of them will draw, some of them will not. And so that's why we do multiple tests. Let's see, what can we draw here? And then if we take a look, what happens when you draw with it, it actually will spell out repro. So just know that as well. All right, we did it. Probably 10%, right? We did 10% of what we could have possibly done. The problem with reproductions, there's so many variants of them, so many different waves of them that came out, so many different companies and people producing them, that there's no way that we can go over every little detail. The best thing I can do is I gave you those resources. We've got Variant Villain and we got the Imperial Gunnery, okay? Those are your two best resources that you need to have saved on your PC, save them on your phone. That way you can pop them up and you can take a look at visuals and you can see the things in front of you compared to what they should look like, and you can match those things up. That is the best way. We also know that Variant Villain also, you can match up your figures based on the COO on the back of the leg with the exact blaster that you should have for that figure, because they'll be made from the same factory, okay? So that's another great plus for Variant Villain and your collecting. And I also, I think we could have done a little bit more on the visuals, but I feel like that's really something that you need to do at home, right? I could show you a whole bunch of real Imperial blasters next to the fake ones, and we could try to diagnose them and figure out, oh, this one line is wrong right here, and oh, this bump is wrong. That's the kind of stuff you need to do at home, okay? I don't want to bore you with that stuff. So we kind of went through the main test where we could hear stuff from the drop test. We could see some floating stuff or some sinking stuff into water, right? We could see some stuff, the coloring. It colored out repro. That's how crazy these reproductions are. They knew to spell out reproduction or repro on the piece of paper because they are painted, and we know that they shouldn't be painted. We also know, please remember, we don't just do one test, okay? We do multiple tests because we saw in this video that some things float when they should sink, when they sink, they should float, they float when they, vice versa, and then they sound real when they dropped, right? But they were fake. So we've got to remember that there are fakes out there that will qualify. They will pass tests. That's why we have multiple tests that we need to run on all of them. I heard somebody on one of my videos back in the day when I was doing an unboxing of a big collection, and there were some reproductions in there, and I was doing the float test just as a quick little reminder to show people that it sank, and somebody goes, oh, the float test is garbage. You can't use the float test anymore. Well, no, that's, the truth of that is are there reproductions that will float? Yes, that is true. But if you put a reproduction into the water and it sinks, the test works. You know full well right there you have a reproduction. I understand that the technology is coming out that is improving these physical characteristics, right? It's making it harder to determine. So that is why we do multiple tests. I do not know of reproductions right now that will pass every single test. The visual test, the LED light test, the drop test, the float test, the coloring test. I don't know of a reproduction that's out there or a company that's making those that will pass every single one of those. It's going to fail on one or two or many of those tests. So that's why, again, we do all of the tests that we can, and then you'll know if there's a fake item in your collection or something you purchased a collection, you'll be able to pull those things out and then be able to handle it with the person that sold it to you, or just get them into a junk pile, or you're okay with reproductions and you're going to keep them in your collection. You're not going to sell them as real items. Then it's completely okay. You can have fake stuff in your collection. There's nothing wrong with that as long as it stays in your collection, or if you go to sell it, you disclose these accessories right here. They're reproductions. They're not real. Kenner didn't make them. Okay? Then it's all good. If you enjoyed this video, if you learned something from it, it took me forever to make this thing, a lot of editing. You could do me a favor, please hit like, hit subscribe, hit bell notification, be notified of all the upcoming content I'm going to tell you about right now. This Wednesday coming up is going to be a recap. It's going to be episode 89 of our weekly Star Wars eBay listing videos, and they are recaps of all the items I just sold on eBay that are vintage Kenner Star Wars action figures, accessories, playsets, vehicles, creatures, anything you need to fill holes in your collection. And those are running on Sundays in 7-day auctions. I sell anywhere from 50 to 100 items of these vintage Kenner Star Wars items. If you want to participate, if you want to know how do I get to this guy's eBay site, he's selling stuff? Oh my gosh. Go down below in the description of this video. Click more. You'll see a link section. You're going to see Instagram, TikTok, my email address, eBay, membership link. Everything is down there for you to find. Every one of my socials and all the stuff that you need to find is going to be right down below in the description of this video. Those videos come out every single Wednesday. All right, but the auctions end on Sunday. So don't go into eBay thinking you're going to bid for a Wednesday. You make sure that you know that they end on Sunday so you can participate, bid on those items, win some, you get shout outs. We do all kinds of crazy stuff. We have giveaways on those episodes. Then this Sunday coming up, I'm going to be doing a Theory Sabers unboxing. And it's not just one saber. It's 3 sabers because I bought one and they sent me 2. It was a buy one, get 2 free. So we are going to unbox 3 lightsabers this Sunday. It's going to be absolutely nuts. And then the Sunday after that is going to be the August mail haul video. That's where I'm going to show you all the items I've added personally to my collection in the month of August. I've got a pile of stuff that starts stacking up over here. And then what we do is we do a recap. What in the world is the Star Wars Daddy collecting? Is it just Star Wars stuff? Does he have other toy lines that he's collecting? Is it all vintage? Is it modern? What is he doing? Is it graded? Is it loose? Is it boxed? Is it mint on card? All kinds of stuff is going to happen on that video, so make sure to check that out. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that membership commercial, and I hope you also enjoyed the Daddy 10 getting a discount code on all of your graded purchases until August 31st. Make sure to use that code. If you're going to send something off to be graded, at least get the discount. Don't waste your money. Get those discounts, and it's exclusive here with the Star Wars Daddy. So I hope you enjoyed that commercial as well, and you learned from everything that's happened here. You guys, I appreciate the support so much. I hope you learned something. If you have questions, if you have comments, if you need more help, please leave me a comment. The comments go a long ways. They help the analytics, and they put me in front of other people that have not found me yet. So I really would appreciate that, and I would really appreciate helping you. So if you've got any questions or comments, please leave those down below. I respond to every single comment. You guys, until the next time, which is going to be on Wednesday with that eBay listing video, then on Sunday with the Star Wars Theory unboxing. Oh my gosh, is that Joe Camel? Listen, I don't smoke, but it is an AT-AT Walker that just kind of happens to look like a cigarette commercial. Oh my gosh, who is your daddy? Here's a pretty common blaster, IG-88. Throw it in, it's floating, and it's real. Why I had that in the reproductions, I don't know. That's a real blaster, you dum-dum.